Hey guys, this is Simon with Trade and Perform Coaching. Wanted to do a really quick uh, video on ES, and then I'm also going to do a really quick video on NQ explaining the support and resistance levels and the profile chart from my perspective, right? So this is how you get a hold of me if you have any questions about the room or what we do in the room. And let's get started. So the first thing you see is that NQ is still making higher highs and higher lows, right? A lot of people do not like that, but that's what it is doing, right? You can see higher highs, higher lows. And we stopped one timing the other day on the 27th, but we've continued up and we are basically trading inside Friday's range today, right? So, and one of the ways that I gauge whether the sellers were able to make any progress to the downside is whether we can make it past the 62 retrace of a big up day, right? So Friday was obviously our big up day, and you can see in ES we did not even make it back to the 50 retrace today. So that leaves me thinking that buyers are still in overall control. I'm long biased anyways. I think that the day trades are easier to the long side, and you don't get nearly as run down as you do trying to find the shorts, and particularly when it gets illiquid as it has lately. So, a couple things to set up for the day, just so everyone understands. When we have an inside day, what I do is I go mark the green lines. Normally, those are prior day's highs and lows, but since it was an inside day, I just dash those off. So all of this is just set as a quick reminder for me, right? So I know we're on an inside day and that Friday's high and Friday's low are still important. Additionally, I've marked off the 50-60 with this green box right here. And I know in order to really get any kind of roll to the downside, that I'm going to have to get behind at this point 38, 54.71, or buyers will remain in control and will continue to push higher, right? Again, my job isn't to prognosticate the market, it's just to read what it's doing. And right now, buyers are in overall control, and we've hung out up here on top in the little micro range. Obviously, there's buyers lurking down here around 38.20, and there's sellers lurking up here around, from what we can tell, 39.10 most recently to 39.05, and we'll just go see if those guys show back up if we test back up there again. Once again, it's important. I don't care which way the market goes because all it can do is move the pieces around. I'm going to get my setup on a very small level no matter what the market does. Okay, so underneath 38.54.75, really I need an impulse move underneath, and the inability to recover that 38.55 would bring up a test down into the single print area at the bottom on the 28th. These are all single prints down here that need to get retested. And there's an anomaly, a very large anomaly here that ends at 38.31. I would expect somewhere near 38.31 responsive buyers on top. And then certainly responsive buyers near 38.15. And then these are prior days lows, 38.13 and 38.06. And when we get underneath those, I do look for traps back to the upside the first time underneath those, right? So there's actually quite a bit of work to get underneath here, and I would imagine that we will get our answer as to which way the market's going to break after the Fed on Wednesday, right? The market, my guess, will be kind of on hold into Wednesday and make no particular push one way or the other. So we shall see, right? If you look underneath there, additionally, and the reason why we've been bullish, look, just the market hasn't been able to make any progress to the downside. Really, if you pull this chart in since the 13th, right, that's not a bearish chart. Like the first thing you clearly see is that there's buyers down here at 3,600. We just can't get underneath. And there's structure. There's clearly buyers over here to the left. There were sellers over here that are now trapped at 37.60. I would expect some type of responsive buys if and when we get up into that or when we get down into that area. And then in order to get the buyers trapped, right? So there's been consistent buyers down here below 38.31. So we're going to have to impulse move underneath 38.31, 38.20, come back up and backside test to find those sellers to get us to move to the bottom end of this balance area here at the bottom. So we'll see if we can do it. I don't know. I don't particularly have anything invested one way or the other in them doing it or not doing it, and I don't care because I know every day they're going to push it down. I'm going to find trap buyers and sellers. I'll put out another video on that either later tonight or tomorrow. and we're going to get paid in the rim. And so that's 2 cents on profile. Remember, levels are important, but you need a way of discerning what the setup looks like at the level. Okay, and I'll cover that in another video. Let's go do NQ really quick, and I'm going to do this one live here with y'all. So let's just do it really quickly. We're going to minimize it. And as you can see tonight, certainly no sellers in Asia. Those guys are just on fire to the upside. They're just driving, and they're pretty good going to the upside. Let's pull up the NQ profile. And again, on the NQ profile, you can see NQ is a bit weaker. Why do I say that? Because it was actually able to make it back into its 50 retrace. Didn't quite make it down to the 62 retrace. That was, by my measure, sitting down around 11,355. We got close, just no cigar. We couldn't quite get in there, and that's fine. No big deal. We were this red line here, what you'll see, why? So the question would become, why did I have that red line there, right? So if you'll pull this chart together here, what you'll see about that red line, why did I pick that? Why did I pick that area specifically? Okay, so what you'll see when you look at it is this is the high. Well, I didn't mean to do that, so let's let it come back for me just a second. That's frustrating. Hold on one sec here. Let's let it reset. Here, I'll pause it till it gets back, and this way y'all don't have to wait. Oh, there we go. So why was this red line just under the 62 retrace? Why was it so important? Geez, I wish this would stop moving. So let me explain why that is, or why I chose that specific area. See how this was the breakout area over here? See, we had these couple of days consolidation, and this was the highest up day with this close sitting right here at 11,350, right? So in order to break out, we were going to have to close above that day's high, right? So you can see if you look into this day here, I'll break it out. If you look into this day, they try to hold above it multiple times. They failed, right? So what I would have expected, right, that this would end up forming a huge, somewhat head and shoulders, but that was the breakout point in the highest close. So I figured that would form resistance, right? Well, kind of do the inverse, right? If you get back above, right, they try to trap it underneath. You break out above, they're going to come back to test that prior day's high and that prior day's close. They didn't quite get to the prior day's close, right? And when they got down there, it was rejected and pushed back up. It would also happen to coincide with being the 50-60 of that very large up move on Friday, and that's why I picked it. Now, when you look at it, that's really just a kind of picking an area from a broader perspective, right? And at any rate, that's why I picked that level, why I had it there. There was nothing there in particular. If you look at it, you really had to know, hey, that was the breakout point, right? That was the point from which they broke out. They tried to hold it above several times. They obviously failed. And then you can see over here on Friday, when they got back above there, as you can see, when they pushed up, they tried to hold underneath. But when it got back above there, those shorts were squeezed and it was off to the races. So it just made sense that when we got back into this area, that you were going to find responsive buyers at least the first time. So at any rate, that's my 2 cents about that. So for today, let's move the little lines around and explain everything to everyone as we're going through this. So these single prints are still important. I expect a response both from the top and the bottom, right? This area has now gotten pretty crowded. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove that red line. All right, it's crisscrossed it multiple times, and I'm going to replace it is what I'm going to end up doing. So let's move the easy pieces first. So let's go grab value area high and low. I denote those with purple. Well, if it'll let me grab it. It may not. People trading Asia just have to be going for the life of me. Why are they running the markets up? And the funny thing about that is, not a whole lot funny about it, but the funny thing about that is that it doesn't really matter. Longs tend to be easier than shorts in most markets. So here's value area high and low. Only reason I'm doing this is to teach people how I pick out those levels. There's the volume point of control. That's a great target. It's the least desirable place to trade. So if I was trading this evening, right, we've gotten outside of the value area. We're currently trading 11,496 area. And I'd say at some point this evening, we're probably going to travel back. There's two choices. We're either going to come up for this gap fill over here at 11,580. That doesn't seem very likely, but who knows? Or we're going to fail up here and we're going to roll back into this 11,460, down to this 11,435. So I'm going to move the point of control because that's going to be the target back to the downside. And that is a great target down. It is a horrible place to initiate a trade most days unless the market's just really lethargic, right? And then since the point of control from the TPO, so the left side's the TPO profile, the right side's the volume profile, I'm going to default to the volume profile for the magnet. And so that's my downside target. And then we would have prior day's high. So I'm going to duplicate this chart. And I'm going to go, I didn't quite get it. So let's just copy and move. All right. And then, so we made it to the 50-60, but I'm going to leave that there so that I remember that's the 50-60 of the prior day. I have to get underneath that. I'm going to duplicate this. And move that down here. And then let's see, what else do I have to mark off? It was pretty insignificant. There's single prints right down near the low, so I marked those off in red. Extend those out. And this single print area is so small, I'm not even going to worry about it. And then I'm going to mark off prior day's high, like this, line style dashed. So the whole point is so that someone can look at this chart really quickly and know, hey, this was an inside, this is the dashed lines are the important days for the inside day. Let's see what else we have to do. Single prints, prior days high. And you know what? Let me collapse this again. No, wrong way. There we go. There we are. And there's an anomaly right up here that we want to mark off. And that would also bring up the gap fill if and when we get up there. The way they're pushing in Asia, it may get up there tonight. Let's see, we are currently up 51 and 16 ES. I'm sure people are sitting there scratching their head going, what in the world has gotten into these guys? But yeah, they're pushing that thing pretty solidly in Asia. So we'll see. And let's see if there's anything else. No, that's about it. So again, we got to get past this 11,366 to get to the downside, and that will bring up the single prints down here where I would expect responsive buyers, or a test back up into this anomaly for what would eventually be the, if they get it, the gap fill, and or a retest of this 11,600 area. And then if they can keep going, you can get a retest of the high from the 25th. So again, in my eyes, buyers are in overall control. That's how I see it. And while I may not like it, and believe me, I don't, the fact is that is what they are. They're in overall control, and I'm going to just keep going with them as long as they stay in that position. So I'll do another video on what our actual entries look like from an algo standpoint, but that's the picture. And obviously for right now on NQ, you can see this 11,190 is the bottom of balance, and the 11,700 is the top, and that brings up about a 600 point range, and that's a pretty sweet trading range. So overall, I would look to be, if we can hold the bottom end of this area tomorrow, I'll look to be a buyer, but certainly down here in this 11,253 to 11,190. And of course, once the Fed does whatever the Fed's going to do, that should bring up some significant rotation, counter rotation, or some type of significant movement out of this balance area, perhaps. And maybe the market can get moving in a direction. But for right now, it's balance, trapping sellers at the bottom and pushing back up to the upside once they trap those guys. So anyways, I will post this, guys. And if you'd like to visit the room, again, this is how you do it. Send me an email, TRADEnPerform@gmail.com. Anyways, have a great night, guys. Looking forward to making some more money tomorrow. See y'all soon.